This is the PressBox High School Football Show with Booker Corrigan and legendary former McDonough coach Dom Damico. The guys look over everything going on in the world of high school football, both at the private school and public school level. Now, here's Booker Corrigan.
Hey now! What a week! What a great opportunity to recap some of the games that were, and we got a great one that happened between Gonzaga and Good Counsel. Coach Damico, my guest, as usual. He's the expert. I'm just the guy who says welcome and thank you for watching the PressBox High School Football Show. We are coming to you from the Live Hotel Casino studio. Great to have Live Casino on board with us, along with Wise Markets, Glen Burnie Transmissions, Care First Blue Cross Blue Shield Half Marathon, the U.S. Army, and, of course, the Belcar Health 5K. Coach, let's get into quickly one of the recaps, because you were bubbly this morning when we were talking about the Gonzaga-Good Counsel game. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, epic game. I think they'll be talking about this game in Maryland for quite some time. Good Counsel and Gonzaga played full 4 quarters of the football game. Defensive battle, 7-7. It then goes to overtime, and there is literally another hour of football with 5 overtimes.
So the game ends in regulation 7-7. It's a good old-fashioned tractor pull.
Good old-fashioned defensive game, Bears-Packers from the 1960s. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, overtime, they flip the coin. 9 straight touchdowns in overtime.
How great is that?
Incredible. A big crowd, 4,000 or 5,000 people watching. High-level football, an incredible defensive battle. They flip the coin. It turns into an offensive explosion.
It's so great, and that personifies high school sports in general, where you can't do anything right. You can't get a first down, and now you can't stop scoring.
Yeah, it's incredible. And, the Gonzaga quarterback scores all 4 touchdowns in overtime. Caleb Williams, amazing. Now the Good Counsel players, all 4 of those guys are different players. They spread the wealth a little bit with Wilkerson scoring, Hatcher scoring, and Aaron scoring, all touchdowns for Good Counsel. But just an amazing environment. It's a night game. You're there for the duration. You have an hour of overtime football, constant scoring, and then the play comes down. Chris Jenkins from Good Counsel on 4th 11 bats down a pass in the end zone to preserve the win.
So it ends on a defensive play, which it actually should have. It's almost justice. It's almost justice. Now
you definitely, if you paid $5 to get in there, you got your money's worth.
If you paid $5 when overtime started, you got your money's worth.
There's no doubt.
The first half, some people may have gone to the window for some refunds.
That's true.
If they like offense.
No doubt.
Then now we got Kyle Schmitt's going to be calling in around 12:35. He's the head coach at Archbishop Spalding. They had a nice recap. I believe they just beat Calvert Hall.
No, they beat Spalding.
They beat Gilman.
I'm sorry, Spalding played Gilman. They beat Gilman. They beat developing Gilman. And, Spalding's, if you're not really, really good on defense, Spalding's going to put a big number on you. So, Gilman's rebuilding right now, and Spalding, Kyle knows how to score points, a great offensive coach, and, he's been scoring most of the games. If you look at, he's over 50 points per game. So we'll get a chance to talk to Kyle about his offense and a little bit about the next few games in the A Conference
and some of the specialness of what's going on at Spalding with you look at the MIAA. We're going to get to that. We're also going to cover up with that recruiting conversation that we've been continuing. One of the questions that a lot of people want to ask, and some of the buzz that I've been getting on social media. Well, what does an offer mean? And when we come back from the break, we will address that and talk about that. We're also going to give some parents some good advice. I'm going to make a confession, because I have a confession to make, because I feel very honest with you. I don't tell a lot of fibs.
I like that.
Yeah, help some people. Pilati over St. Mary's.
Wow, yeah, big MIAA B Conference game. It might be, kind of a preview to the B Conference playoffs. But Pilati, again, is loaded with skill guys. A running back down there named Imani Alford just had a great game. 3 TDs in the final 12 minutes, 4 TDs overall, 207 yards. Just too much for St. Mary's, but a close game, 28-24, and Amani just went off. Big numbers, big game for him at Pilati.
You got to like to see that the B Conference is getting some love, too. We're joined now on the phone. I'm sure everybody heard the phone ring. Kyle Schmitt, the head coach at Archbishop Spalding. Coach, you got Booker Corrigan, Dom Damico. We talked a little bit about your win over Gilman. How do you feel your team is coming together right now, Coach Schmitt?
Good. It's good to be on, guys. I appreciate you having me. Well, it was nice to get back on track. We lost a really challenging non-league game the week before to Life Christian Academy from Virginia, and we had a great week of practice, which tends to happen sometimes after a loss, and I think our kids are playing really well. We've kind of found ourselves offensively. We got a quarterback in Austin Tudis that's just playing really well, and and defensively we got a ton of guys contributing. And we're getting healthy, I think, at the right time, but we're about to go through a gauntlet of the A Conference here in the next 3 weeks. So we're going to find out a lot about ourselves soon.
Kyle, this is Coach Damico. Just a little question. I know the MIAA trophy is named after former Spalding coach, Coach Whittles. And how important is it for you and the Spalding community to get your hands on that trophy?
Yeah, definitely, Dom. I mean, it's something we talked about at the beginning of the season, and you know the history, obviously, playing against us the last few years and for a long time, actually. And I know that I've told our kids at the beginning of this year, they kind of stand on the shoulders of the guys that came before them. And I talked to our kids about a lot of people that were here before I even coached at Spalding, and I talked to them about, the guys like that I had at the beginning here, Zach Abey and Evan Falkman and Julius Chestnut and Cody Winokur, kids that were just really brought us, I think, helped make the move from the B Conference to the A Conference. And we talked to our kids about those guys paved the way, and we're now, we're kind of getting the rewards of really their hard work, which we're so lucky to have. And then I'm in the same boat with Coach Whittles. The culture of Spalding was awesome. Spalding football is, tough kids who play really hard, and I inherited that from him and his staff. So that trophy would mean the world to us. An A Conference football championship's never been won at Spalding before, so our work's really cut out for us. But it's a big goal, and I'd be lying if I said it's not something we've talked about.
This is the PressBox High School Football Show. We're joined by Archbishop Spalding head coach Kyle Schmitt. Coach Schmitt, let's look a little bit forward without putting the cart before the horse. What do you think of Calvert Hall? What do you like about what they do?
Well, again, like I think all the conference teams are, just really well coached. Donald just does such a good job with his kids. I mean, they've lost 2 really challenging games in league to St. Joe and McDonough, but they're going to be physical. Tucker's a really good back. They got just guys on defense. It's just, you just see numbers just pouring in. I mean, it's like they're too deep everywhere, and they're really, really good on special teams, and which is kind of the mark of a well-coached team. They got a great kicker, and they're just sound on that side of the ball. So it's a great challenge to go up there. They beat us twice last year, and we had some success against them the 3 previous years, but they got us twice. And I'll be honest with you, I thought they out-physicaled us at times, and I'm going to speak to our team about that this afternoon. So we got to kind of step up to the challenge in that regard, because that's not something that's happened to our football team a lot since I've been here. But I thought Calvert Hall did that, and they're a really good October, November team. And I've told Donald this myself over even the last few months, is that we all kind of talk about it, and coaches, we see each other everywhere on the recruiting trail and at other games and so on. But Donald's just always, he's got a good October, November team, because they're built with that. They run the football, they play great defense, and it's just it's going to be a really good football game.
Cool. Kyle, tell us about some of the players at Spalding that are really stepping up for you.
Right. So, Austin, I talked about our quarterback. Is obviously kind of the general force on offense. Zachy Wheatley is a receiver who's got a lot of attention. He's a junior with some really, really nice FBS offers right now, and he's doing a really good job. And up front, Jameer Carter is a Virginia commit, O-line, 2-way lineman. I think is good at 2-way lineman. There aren't many of those in our league anymore, as there is. And he's just a great kid, a 4-year starter for us. And then, on the other side of the ball, Jalen Justice is a linebacker for us, who's a Delaware State commit, kind of the leader of the group. And then outside linebacker Kellen Wyatt, who is a sophomore, who's got a Maryland offer already, and is just he's a captain for us at that age. I think he's just a kind of a star in this area and can be a really, really good player. And then, on the back end, we've gotten one guy back. Quentin Young, who's been hurt for us for a couple of weeks, is coming back this week as a safety tailback, who I think we've really missed. He got hurt in the Bullis game, our 3rd game of the season. And then Jayon Venerable's a Maryland commit and is a junior and a really talented guy on both sides. So we're lucky. I got really good kids, Dom, and just like you do at Franklin and did at McDonough. They're really easy to coach, and that makes they're talented. That makes life easier too. But it's a really good culture here.
Coach Schmitt, our guest, thanks so much for the time. I know you have to get back to class, but we truly do appreciate
it. We're teaching the Art of Confederation right now. I got to get back in there.
I love your style. Teacher, coach, it's a great model to have. Good luck this week at Calvert Hall.
Thank you.
What an outstanding gentleman to take time and just give us some insights, some really valuable insights about Spalding. And I liked how he paid some tribute to your work at McDonough, but also the privilege we have as coaches to help develop young men into the best possible versions of themselves.
Yeah, you know what? Coaching is one part, football coaching is the other, but most of these high school football coaches are teachers, teaching 4, 5, 6 classes a day. So I know during the season for 5 or 6 months, those guys are putting in 12, 14 hours, long days. It's very rewarding, but it is a demanding job.
A lot of film study, and I mean, I did it coaching lacrosse, and I try to convince my daughter that watching game film was really fun. And when she was 4 years old, she's like, "I've been watching this for a year. It's not that fun. I'm not getting that many laughs. And why do you keep writing stuff down?" So, hey, we're going to step away quickly, but we do have some great stuff. The recruiting conversation will be continued, and then we're going to preview some of the games. We got some unbelievable top 20 teams in the country going at it in the form of DeMath and Gonzaga. That'll be a barn burner. Might not just be a barn burner. Might take the first 3 rows of corn with it.
Need groceries today but don't have time to shop? Order online with same-day pickup or delivery at Wise Markets. Wise to go online. Now that's convenient.
This is Stan the Fan for Glen Burnie Transmissions, located right in the heart of Glen Burnie for almost 60 years. If you suspect you're having a transmission problem, GBT can save you hundreds of dollars over taking it to the dealers for a repair. Make an appointment for a free diagnostic and estimate. Call GBT at 855-728-1841. Their mission is simple: to provide excellent service at a reasonable price. Go to their website at gbt-online.com to check out all of the 5-star reviews. Let my friend Mark Schwartzman and his GBT team take the troubles out of transmission troubles. Call them today at 855-728-1841.
Respect. It's more than a word. In the U.S. Army, it is one of our core values, earned through selfless service to our nation and making a difference both at home and abroad. On the Army team, respect is earned daily. And now, in addition to earning respect, you may earn up to $40,000 in bonuses if you qualify. To learn more, visit goarmy.com/bonus or call 1-800-USA-ARMY. Paid for by the U.S. Army.
Booker, Corrigan, and Dom Damico coming to you from the live Casino Hotel studio here at PressBox. This is the high school football show. How great a guy is Kyle Schmitt, the Archbishop Spalding head coach who just joined us.
No, he's the best. He's doing a great job at Spalding in the classroom, teaching kids football and teaching kids about life outside of football.
Great message. Let's pick up with some of the recruiting conversation we've had. We've talked a lot about getting kids to the right high school and developing them into the position, and how you ended up as quarterback from the running back line.
Yep.
Which, you were able to go take snaps as a freshman in high school at quarterback, or you would have been number 31, I think you were in line at running back?
Maybe 33.
33, not that good.
And I wasn't at the back of the line, so you definitely need to be aware of that.
So, recognizing your own potential and where you think you want to end up on the field. Now let's talk about the next question, which is college coaches who have now recognized your talent. What does it mean when someone says, Timmy got an offer?
Mm-hmm. Boy, that's the big buzzword. Everyone wants offers, but what does an offer actually mean?
Yeah.
Most offers, I think the key word that you have to connect with offer is contingent. Offers are contingent on many things. And just like kids that get offers or verbally commit to these offers means nothing until signing day. And you see the shows on the Under Armour games or the Nike All-American games where the guy committed to one school and he's got 3 or 4 hats, and all of a sudden he changes the hat and he's going to a different school. You know, the schools and the universities and the coaches, they also have to protect themselves, so they can change last minute too. For example, let's say you have an offer to a school and you're a wide receiver, and the contingency is that if they don't get 2 4-star or 5-star receivers, they may take you and honor that offer. But if 2 5-star commits or offers commit to the school, then it's contingent on that. Your offer is null and void.
And a school or a coach, really, the coach can call up Timmy and say, we just landed 3 5-star guys in your class and you're not in our class anymore. Yeah, you're cut loose.
We're not taking any more receivers. We have our number at receiver. The other thing, too, with the NCAA transfer portal right now, you can get 5-star kids that are leaving other schools, which then, if a school like Clemson is going to take 2 receivers and you got an offer from them and it's contingent, and one of the offers is a 5-star kid from Florida and the other is a transfer kid who was a 5-star kid, all of a sudden your offer is not valid anymore. So offers don't really mean a whole lot. There's changing back and forth from the kids and from the universities. The only thing that matters is a national letter of intent that is signed. Now, football did go to an early signing period. They have a December signing period in your senior year that you can sign it, which is the early period. And then there's a February signing period, which is a little bit later. Most of the kids are signing in the early period. 80% last year signed in the early period, and then a few are kind of holding over to see what's going on, and then they sign in the later period.
So once you say, and you can say, I'm going to UMass or Towson or Delaware, but until you sign something that says I'm going to Delaware, then it's all subject to change. So what advice would you give to a kid about staying in touch with other coaches, even if he verbally accepts an offer from Carolina? If Carolina says, hey, I like the way you play, we want you to come. We're verbally offering you a spot to come to Carolina. Should he still get a phone call from NC State and listen to the coach?
There's very few old school coaches out there anymore that hold their word for value. They understand that kids are looking around more, so the coaches also need to look around. And even though you have a verbal commitment, other things may shake out. You never know. So no one, the kid or the program, doesn't really know until that letter of intent comes to them. That's an NCAA letter of intent. That's an official document. Once you sign that, they can't take that scholarship from you, and you cannot switch schools without having to worry about sitting out for transfers.
So, and the one word that you used, again, Dom, a great teacher, the offer is contingent.
Contingent's a big word in that deal. There's so many different contingencies. How about the coach leaving? They offer you, and you verbally accept it, and now that guy's at North Carolina State and he goes to Louisville. Well, what goes on? Does the new coach have to honor it? Will he? What's going on with that contingency? Yeah. Injuries. Usually most coaches will still honor injuries, but there's so many contingencies. And the kids right now are really big in how many offers, social media. They want, I got 15 offers, I got 20 offers.
Like prom night.
Yeah, it really is. And, it's...
You could laugh. That's a little bit funny.
That's a lot funny. That's a lot funny. Sometimes it's good to have a lot of offers, and, sometimes it isn't. But
sometimes, yeah.
That's
depends
true.
On
Very true.
Okay, we're going to let that one linger. Now let's look coming up. St. Francis IMG. St. Francis OMG or IMG? Because OMG, I mean, let's be sincere here. Let's get back to the present-day football. That's a clash of really good, talented football players.
You want to watch a high school football game that will resemble a college football game, go to that game. There are so many kids that are going to be playing in Power 5 conferences next year from IMG and St. Francis. Basically an all-star team for both squads, very talented, great coaching, great schemes, physical play, skill guys, great quarterbacks. That you got it all. So if you want to see elite level national high school football, show up at Morgan State University Friday night at 7 o'clock, and you'll get a good taste of that.
I tell you what, you better show up a little bit before 7, it sounds like.
Yeah, I believe
what do you think? The over-under on the crowd, 7,000?
I would hope so, just because of the magnitude of the game. But I would think more like 5,000 is a great night. But I think they'll have a pretty good crowd there.
Big night for you too, because you're running the Belcar Health 5K the next morning.
That's true.
Yeah,
I've been training all weekend on my start specifically. I've been working on the elbows, making sure room.
3 yards.
The first 3 yards are so important in that race. You got to get a good start.
I love it. I love it. Hey, we got to take time to thank Wise Markets, Glen Burnie Transmissions, the U.S. Army, the Care First Blue Cross Blue Shield Half Marathon, which is one of the most fun and festive half marathons you can ever be a part of. And then, of course, the Belcar Health 5K. And then they have the .05K, which I think might be you ran in the Penn Relays.
I did. I was a sprinter, so yeah, I'm better at the shorter distances. The .05. That's what I was working on this weekend.
Okay.
I got my old starting blocks out and cleats, and I was working on the first 3 yards of that race. So
I tell you what, it's only about 6 yards, so you get the first half.
I got half of it down. I was only a little bit tired too after the first 3 yards.
A little huffing and puffing. Loyola beat John Carroll last week. Old Mill takes down Arundel. We talked a little about Pilates St. Mary's. Looking ahead, DeMatha, Gonzaga, over-under on crowd size, 3,000.
More, over.
Way over.
Way over.
What do you like about DeMatha and Gonzaga?
Oh, gosh. Well, Gonzaga's coming off a tough loss, an overtime loss, so that's going to be, kind of still in the kids' heads and in the coaches' heads. DeMatha's always going to be solid. Great coaches, a bunch of kids. They'll dress 80 kids on the sideline. So, the WCAC with the DeMatha-Gonzaga game and St. John's Good Counsel, you don't get, better state-level football, national-level football than that in this area. And then we got 2 big MIAA conference games. We talked about Spalding, Calvert Hall at Towson. They'll have a big crowd there with Coach Schmitt bringing his team to Calvert Hall. And then Mount St. Joe against McDonough is going to be at Mount St. Joe, and it's Saturday at 1 o'clock. Again, a big game, and I think this is the first time, besides the Calvert Hall game, that McDonough is going to be tested by a very good Mount St. Joe team, especially on offense.
Be an interesting unfolding of that MIAA, and we talked about how the trophy's been named after the former Spalding coach. We had Kyle Schmitt on, and I also told people I had to make a confession, because you and I talked about parents and parent involvement, and parents who are yelling stuff from the sideline down to your kid. Parents in general don't watch a lot of film. Specific film of the opponent that they're playing and trying to know what they're kind of. It's like when you're watching rec league basketball or JV level basketball. What's the famous saying by a dad? No baseline. They may have been practicing all week to force that kid to the baseline. So if you don't know, A, you better ask somebody, and B, you just probably should just keep it shut. Right?
No doubt. I mean, I think parents are driving good coaches out of coaching, to be honest with you. And it's the biggest headache that most head coaches talk about. And, I think we can continue to talk about this. It could be multi-shows just on parents, but just to get you started for good advice, right after the game is probably the worst time ever to walk up to and ask a coach about what's going on in the game. Even if your team wins or loses, if your kid plays a lot or a little, there has to be some cooling off period. There has to be some space. Wait till the next day. Wait till Monday before you just walk up to a coach right after the game. That's probably the best advice I can give you at the game.
And then just let it chill.
Yeah, let it chill. And then the next thing, some parents have to bite their tongue at the game because they don't want to, maybe they're former coaches like Coach Corrigan.
No, I'm guilty. I keep going. I know. Don't yell from the. Yeah, go ahead.
And you see a lot of parents yelling from the stands or walking up to the fence and trying to coach their kid in the game. And most of the time, none of these people have been at any of the practices.
Yep.
They have no idea what the coaches are kind of trying to communicate to their kids. They maybe tell them the exact wrong thing. So it's the best advice would be, let the coaches coach during the game. If you want to coach, you can coach at home and be a parent. But at the game, at the practices, let the coaches do their job. When you're home as a parent, you can give them your advice and act as their parental coach. And let the coaches coach the sport they're playing.
And I told you I had a confession because I yelled. My son was playing in a scrimmage, and I yelled something from the stands. But I also want everyone to know what I yelled. I yelled body language. Because you just want to see that, everybody And I wasn't specifically yelling it at my son or anyone. I was just saying, let's be mindful of our body language. And I think if a coach were going to have me yell something, that might be okay.
Yeah, I think anytime parents are positive, it's not a problem. Coaches are trying to avoid parents that are negative.
Yeah.
It's a cancer. It spreads like wildfire in the stands, and all of a sudden, you hear one guy or one girl complaining, and then the next day it's 2 and 3, and then all of a sudden you get 10 emails from parents complaining. So I think it's important that parents be parents and coaches be coaches.
Let your kids play. I saw my son after the event, and the only words out of my mouth were, "I love watching you play. You look like you had fun with your friends."
No doubt.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what else they were trying to accomplish, right?
Yeah, my daughter played volleyball, track, and basketball at McDonough, and I sat in the top row and kept my mouth closed. And at home, I talked to her about what I saw. So, but never anything at the games. I don't think it's a good resemblance of yourself. Yep. And a lot of people actually lose control and kind of embarrass themselves a little bit. So.
Oh, it's awful. To talk about embarrassing myself, if I were on that field, IMG against St. Francis, I think I might get a little embarrassed. There's a D1 talent on that field. Next week, we will obviously recap that game at length. We're going to do a lot of talk about how the Belcar Health 5K and the Care First Blue Cross Blue Shield Half Marathon went down. Thank you to Wise Markets, Glen Burnie Transmissions, and U.S. Army. Thank you, of course, to my man Luke Jackson for running the knobs. Glenn Clark chilling in here a little bit, getting ready for his big 5K coming up this weekend. Dom Damico, thank you for your time and insights.
Thank you, sir.
You got it. I'm Booker Corrigan reminding you, you only get one shot at today.